90% of the data today has been produced in the past 2 years. We collect more and more data, and we collect it through devices, from services, from transactions. This data is very valuable, but it creates a burden for keeping it, for securing it, and for sharing it. It's like somebody coming to your house. If you want to keep your data, you need to keep the data from them in your house. We as entrepreneurs see this problem in the context of due diligence. When there's a due diligence on our company, we are faced with this problem. Due diligence is intrusive, and we feel invaded in our private space. Due diligence is necessary to create trust between companies. This is a form of auditing. And auditing itself is expensive, takes time, is intrusive, and is only a snapshot in time. Now, we present to you today QEDit Enhanced Diligence. QEDit is about accelerating trust. Our company is our third company in the space of blockchain. The first company was the largest Bitcoin exchange in Israel, and the second company was a security company. With this company, we found that bringing trust among participants should be based on private data, but you cannot share this data among participants. We created a distributed platform for continuous auditing so that you can ask a question about private data, get an answer proven to you, but without revealing the underlying data. So today, we're going to show you a demo around one particular use case, an investor that wants to do a due diligence on a company based on their live data, but without that company sharing it.
To demo?
So the company first connects their data to the system. This data is never going to leave the company. So you can connect financial data, even HR, sales, analytics. And based on this, the auditor or the investor can ask questions about that live data. So let's say I'm a VC, Meron Capital, an Israeli VC that's agile, and I know that I want to have to know what happens with the sales. I'm only interested in companies that have good sales. So I will create a way of querying them if their sale is above $150,000, and I will get the result from the company with their consent, but without revealing all sales data. So I first launch the query between the companies. Companies that receive this question and need to consent to the question, when they consent, what is being generated is a zero-knowledge proof. Zero-knowledge proof is a way to prove something on your data without sharing it. And this proof is shared with the auditor, but not the data itself. So the auditor now can see which companies fit their criteria, and then move on to do further due diligence. This proof relies on the live snapshot of the data in the company. So coming back to the demo, to the presentation. Let's look at what markets this is disrupting. As a distributed platform, we're disrupting Dun & Bradstreet, who collect semi-open data and give very quick answers, but not based on live data. If we look at the rating agencies, Standard & Poor, for example, they do work on private data, but that data needs humans to come and do the auditing, and this is very costly. And if we look at platforms around blockchain technology for enterprise, they do create trust between parties, but when they want to prove something about data, they need to share this data with other parties. We make it possible using zero-knowledge blockchain, which is our proprietary technology, to share the proofs, but not the data. For the techies between you, what we did was take the open source library called libsnark and add an extension that makes it possible to run advanced business logic without revealing the underlying data. And we launched a network that implements an identity scheme that's self-sovereign, that lets you agree with consent and make it possible to expire the data. This is now running live as we launch Crunch Enhanced Diligence.
Wrap it up.
So today, as we're launching it with our partners, Deloitte and other companies from the Big Four that have participated in the starting ceremony. Thales, the large defense company, British Telecom, BNP Paribas, Euler Hermes, and more. These companies have joined forces to create this network and launch it. We did a trusted setup ceremony, the first of its kind in enterprise blockchain.
Shafi Goldwasser.
And to make this a standard, we have been joined by Professor Shafi Goldwasser, who invented zero-knowledge proof and received a Turing Award for that invention.
All right, you're out of time. So first, I'll give it up for QEDit. What's your website? If you didn't get to that slide.
Oh, it's QEDit.com/TechCrunch.
Cool. All right, judges.
So how do you make sure that all the stupid questions being asked from auditors or even VCs are basically you can basically answer and you have it in your system?
So if they reference data that is not in the system, the company won't be able to prove the response to the question.
No, not the reference data. Basically, it's the question being asked. So say, how do you transform the question, transcript the question, so that it be answered properly?
So the transformation of the question is into something called the zk-SNARK circuit. This is our proprietary technology. We make it possible to prove that we are running the right question on the data and not an alternative question. And these are the building blocks that we have accumulated across verticals, and this is what we apply on the data. We make it possible to prove that all the steps of an audit question were realized. It's like a trace of the calculation next to the result. And the recipient can verify that it's the correct audit question that was run on the data.
So you said that you're part of a consortium with BT and Deloitte and others. Who's your actual customer? Who's paying for this?
So in this particular example, we want to expand to giving credit score on SMEs. And one of our partners told us that 90% of their potential customers, they cannot access because they don't have good credit score on these companies, and it's too costly for them to have it. So we actually launched this product to answer this request from one of these partners.
Why did you have to create a separate blockchain altogether? There is no platform available where you can build up as an application. And the second thing is, I understand you're not really transferring data, but still there is a snapshot of the data. There is still transmission of the questions, the scoring. So what is the security around it?
So about the transfer of the data, when data is updated locally at the startup, a hash is transferred on the blockchain, which doesn't reveal the data. It's like the summary of the data. And we use this hash to reference the data when we create a proof, so that you know that the proof is referencing actual fresh data. And the second part of the question?
The first part of my question was, why do you have to create the new blockchain space?
So our partners are running this network between themselves, and they want the value of this product to be shared among them. We don't want to rely on consensus mechanisms that rely on outside sources. This is the drive towards enterprise blockchain, is differentiating from creating an economy with tokens and looking at the technology running between known participants.
So it's basically using the decentralized principle for a centralized mechanism.
We try to do it centralized, so companies try to do it centralized, but nobody would give them private data live from their systems to answer deep questions. So centralized doesn't work in this particular case.
Clear.
So this is a pretty good sector to approach, but insurance would have seemed like another major sector as well as healthcare. And I'm just curious as to, is it just because of your background, or is it, do you think that those industries are too far behind, or just walk us through kind of the expansion plan?
So we work per vertical, and we're at a race to cover use cases that create value sooner and don't have red tape. As soon as we can deploy a network, this brings us faster to realizing the value of this technology. So, go ahead.
No, just to add that we know that there are a lot of expectations around blockchain, and people think that blockchain could change the world. We decided at QEDit that we want to go with real clients and real use cases. So we are not trying to address all verticals and the big dream, but we are trying to address real use cases with a real network. So maybe we'll go to another vertical later, but we are exploring verticals only with real networks of real clients.
Why are you only giving back some true and false answers and not giving access to specific data in any case?
Answer in like 2 sentences.
We
or
think
less.
it's that startups wouldn't accept to be too intrusive on their live data. Usually they would accept if it crosses a threshold.
Cool. All right. Give it up one more time for QEDit.